Be kind. Rewind. This is Dope Nostalgia.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to Dope Nostalgia's 155th episode. And I'm your host, Naomi, as always. What's really exciting about this episode is we are talking to a classic Canadian girl pop vocal band that I was a big fan of in the early 90s, West End Girls, from Vancouver, British Columbia. And the coolest part is we got all three original members, Camille, Amy, and Sylvana, to be on the show. I couldn't believe it. It was such an exciting show to put together for you guys. So without any further ado, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about West End Girls.
Wikipedia moment.
Please bear in mind that Wikipedia is not to be taken as actual 100% fact. Any donkey could edit it at any time. If I'm reading you the artist's bio, that stuff is real truth.
West End Girls were a Canadian pop band and girl group formed in 1990 in Vancouver, British Columbia. The band was formed in Vancouver by producers John Dexter and John Livingston and consisted of three teenage girls, Camille Henderson, Amy McKenzie, and Sylvana Petrozzi. After several months of performing lessons with Henderson's father, Bill Henderson, the lead singer of rock group Chilliwack, the trio recorded and released their debut album, West End Girls, on Johnny Jet Records in 1991. That album produced the Canadian top 10 hits, Not Like Kissing You, and this one right here, I Want You Back, which was obviously the remake of the Jackson 5 hit, as well as the top 40 singles, Say You'll Be Mine and Show Me the Way. Petrozzi left the band in 1992 and was replaced by Janelle Woodley. In 1993, shortly before the release of the group's second album, Henderson also left and was replaced by Celia Louise Martin. In 1993, the band's new lineup released the album We Belong Together, which included the singles Are You Sexin' Me?, Pure, and Sexy. Their second album wasn't as successful as the first one, and they did break up the following year. Shortly afterwards, the group's record label released a remix album of some of their earlier hits. They received a Juno Award nomination for Most Promising New Group in 1992, and they also toured with Roxette on the Canadian leg of that group's 1992 Canadian tour. Mackenzie later joined the Canadian R&B group D Crew, and their single Show Me sampled the West End Girls single Show Me the Way. Petrozzi and Kane later formed Pacifica with guitarist Adam Popowitz, bassist Toby Peter, and percussionist Elliot Polsky. Their first album, Asuncion, was released in 2007, and their second, Super Magic, was released in 2010. Kane also released a solo album in November of 2012. Henderson later toured extensively as a backing vocalist for Sarah McLachlan and performed lead vocals on Delirium's track, Duende. She is now a vocal coach. Woodley later formed the pop group A Perfect Day with Joseph Horekka, and they released the album All Over Everything in 2004. Martin has done occasional acting gigs. Now, I don't know too much about the two girls that came into the group later. I was blessed that I was able to get a hold of all three, Camille, Amy, and Sylvana, the original OG girls, the West End Girls. Welcome them all to the show, starting with Sylvana. Well, I wanted to start by saying welcome to Dope Nostalgia.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a really excellent couple of years doing this show now where we get to talk to people who had huge careers in the 90s and see what's going on now. And as I remember a tween, I got to see you live when you were opening for Roxette.
Oh my gosh, you were there. That's so awesome.
It was so fantastic. And I think I know I had your cassettes. And I felt that you guys were such a great influence for young people, young ladies like myself at that time.
Oh, that's really, really meaningful. Thank you so much.
No problem. So I always wanted to have you on the show and discuss what it was like for you during that time. Now, how did you personally get into the group?
At the time, I had just moved to Vancouver as a teenager, and I was in an alternative pop kind of underground little band with one of the boys that I'm still in a band with now.
Nice.
So we played like, basically we started to get a little following from the high schools locally in Vancouver, and we played a show at a theater with a bunch of other bands, and somebody who was connected to the production team that put together the West End Girls watched our show and approached me in regards to the group. So that's how I became involved with the girls.
And what was the experience like for you recording your debut album and, becoming the West End Girls? What was that process like?
Wow. Well, for me, it was really whirlwindish. The girls are lovely. So I made really nice friendships with both of them. And Camille and I are still super close, and Amy's a delight.
Nice.
I took on the group because the boys that I was in the band with were really keen for me to do something in the way that perhaps that could also open a career for this alternative band to also happen. So for me, it was an exciting project, but it was a gateway towards a career in the music industry, just because I really loved writing. So this was a put together group. This was not trying to pretend that it was anything other than that.
Mhm.
And it was actually a really beautiful experience. Camille's dad produced the vocals and the record, and everybody involved was very excited. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
I'm really glad you guys enjoyed the whole ride. That's definitely important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you get to see a lot of the country, or was it just kind of like go, go, go?
I think touring is really an interesting process because it's one of those things where we had a crash course in what it was like. We were young and we all had different levels of experience in different parts of the field. And in regards to myself, all I can say is that it was, there was a lot of promotion and a lot of unexpected things that when one looks back on it, at least when I look back on it, I think that youth was definitely on our side, because when I didn't know what to expect, it made it a lot more interesting and less daunting, but I think a little bit scary as well, because I was a teenager. I'm being very careful not to speak for the girls in general. I just want to speak for myself because
absolutely.
It was an interesting time of life to have people's attention on me, just because I was just becoming who I was. So the amount of attention we got in the speed in which we got it was something that I was definitely aware of. And I tried to just take each day at a time. It was really fun though. The experiences were great. Looking back in hindsight, I can't believe we played these big, huge places, and we didn't really realize how big it was, probably.
Well, I guess when you're in the middle of it, it's really hard to see what it looks like from the outside, right?
Yes, when you're in the jar, you can't read the label.
I like that analogy.
Totally. Totally.
Now, what shows, like the TV appearances and such, did you enjoy the most? And who are some of the favorite hosts that you got to work with during that time?
Oh, I think it was pretty classic that to be on Much Music and sit across from Erica M and just be these young girls and her asking us to sing or do something. And we just kind of looked at each other and we sang "Oh Canada" because we had just done a national anthem for a big, like a stadium football event or a game. And so that's all we could think of at the time. And I think that's really funny. Much Music was great. Just, Terry David Mulligan at the time too. He was doing the West Coast aspect of Much Music. I've worked with Christopher Ward as well I don't think he interviewed us, but I did meet him afterwards. So there were a lot of people. They were cool. It was a cool vibe inside the Much Music studios, Yeah,
I can only imagine. I've had the opportunity to have Erica M on the show as well.
Yeah, she was nice. Great interviewer.
Oh, fantastic. She's incredible.
Yeah.
Who did you get to meet that was a big influence on you?
To be honest with you, for myself, personally, I think because I was new in a way to Canada and to Canadian art, I met people and didn't recognize how big it was that I was meeting them.
Mhm.
Roxette, they were incredibly professional. And I'm sure you remember that show. She was flawless.
Oh,
She was flawless, you know? That was,
she is like one of my vocal idols. And
Yeah.
Marie was like who I wanted to be like as a singer myself.
yeah,
And I feel like it's a huge loss that she's
it's a
gone.
huge loss. It's a huge loss. You
Mhm.
know, she was impressive every single night of the tour that we did with them. And that was quite awesome. It was a great opportunity. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to chat with them at all, or is it
We
pretty
said
professional?
hello. We said hello, but it was extremely professional backstage. You know, she was doing her prepping and we respected that. And we all had different levels of ways in which we had fun. And for myself, I think perhaps I was very much between Amy and Camille. I was very much the middle ground in my energy. Like I could be extremely playful. She was very playful. And Camille is more seasoned and grew up with the arts and the music industry. And so perhaps she was a little bit more serious and more professional. And I kind of drew the line between them.
Mm.
Yeah.
What's album track or deep cut from the music you made together would you wish had been a single?
Probably the track that I sang, which was Say You'll Be Mine. I thought it was romantic and pretty sweet. But having said that, yeah, I liked the slower tracks. I liked Show Me the Way.
I love Show Me the Way.
I love
That's
Show
my
Me the
favorite one.
Way. I think our voices blended really nicely when we sang in that way. So yeah, Show Me the Way was a strong track.
So many times I've been standing here, so close to you. Can't stop the feeling inside of me. I don't know what to do. Something I don't understand is burning in this heart of mine. Just too hard to say the words. If only you could read my mind. I want you to show me the way, darling. Please stay. Show me the way. I want you to show me the way, darling. Please stay. Show me the way to your heart.
Moving forward, when West End Girls had become over, basically,
Yeah.
what did you do during that time, and what led to Pacifica starting up?
Well, I left after the first record that the West End Girls put out. They did subsequently, I'm sure, as you know, put a second record out, and I left before the second record, mostly because I wanted to write, and it wasn't really that type of a project.
Yeah.
So I just continued writing and continued making music. And what led to Pacifica is that after traveling and leaving Canada and moving to Europe and doing art and making music predominantly in Spain, I came back and I reconnected with Adam, who's my longtime friend, who I was in the band with when I was first seen with the West End Girls, and with Adam and Toby Peter, who was on tour with Chaos. The three of us just started making music, and it just felt really good. And it's been feeling really good ever since. And so we're still at it.
I know there's good news coming up. Luminous out this year.
Yeah, we'll see what
New album.
happens. Thank you. Thank you so much for your interest and for, taking the time, and for, I think the 90s were a really creative time. It's a cool thing that you're exploring it.
Yeah, I just felt like we were putting this podcast together before the pandemic, but it was something that we felt was really needed during that time. People needed a dose of happiness.
Yes.
And
yes.
old memories of good music. So that's
yes.
why it's been fun.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think it's important to keep ourselves above water, and music has the capacity to immediately take us back to whatever time we kind of felt really good in.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Before we wrap things up, I was going to ask you, how many languages do you speak and sing?
I speak two really well, Spanish and English. I use them both just as much. Like, I'm completely fluent. Spanish is my first language, and
Nice.
I can defend myself in French. And I really love French Canada. So I do the best that I can in French. So I would say, yeah, I guess 2.5.
That's so
2.5.
cool.
Yeah.
So cool. And you had a solo album out as well. Can people still find that streaming?
Yeah, they can. They can find all of the Pacifica records, and they can also find Sylvana Kane, La Jardinera, which is a very gentle kind of lullaby album with songs that I grew up with. Yeah, that was a fun project.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And before I wrap this up, I always ask people, what kind of food or fashion trend, toy, etc., makes you nostalgic for the 90s?
Ooh, for the 90s. Back then when we toured, we had Oreos on our rider.
Mhm.
I don't even think I've eaten many Oreos since, but if I had to think about it, like, as young girls, we would get back in the tour bus and we would open the Oreos and we would eat them. So that, I would say that the West End Girls reminds me of that for sure.
Oh, well, great. And I really appreciate you today. And thank you for the time.
Oh, thank you. Please, say hi to my girls for me.
I will. And I'm really happy that you guys are still in touch. That's
Yeah.
lovely.
We had a really good experience, it was fun.
It's been so long since someone pleased me, so I try to let his kisses tease me. But when I close my eyes, the light keeps shining through, and the reason it's not like you said you. It's been so long since someone pleased me, so I try to let his kisses tease me. But when I close my eyes, the light keeps shining through, and the reason it's not like you said you. Not many others could deceive me, and somehow you would always need me. But still, you know I do. It's what you want me to, and the other, it's not like you said you.
Thank you, Camille, for coming to Dope Nostalgia today. and I wanted to start with asking a fairly simple question about how the idea for West End Girls got off the ground.
Well, the idea was not ours. We had never met before.
Mhm.
So this was sort of the beginning of, those girl group, boy group things that happened in the 90s.
Mhm.
And this was sort of built on like a Motown kind of concept by producers. So, so Johnny Jet Records, it was their concept. They held big auditions and saw lots of people and put us together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy how it all worked out. We had some adoptive sisters is how it felt.
Nice. And your dad he involved much in getting everything together musically, or?
No, not really. He was pretty uninvolved until we were recording.
Mhm.
And then it was just really helpful to have someone who was a singer to help with producing the vocals.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah. So he helped us out there.
When I was a tween, I saw you guys live opening for Roxette, and I was so much a big fan of you guys. Like I was
Aw.
telling Silvana that I thought you guys were such a good influence on young girls like myself. So thanks for that.
Aw, that's awesome.
Yeah. What was the Roxette tour like for you?
It was an amazing opportunity. I was in art school at the time and had to make the difficult decision because I was super into it. The school that I was in, and just started second year and had to make that difficult decision of like, okay, apparently I can't juggle both anymore. So I have to make a decision, and there's a tour in stadiums opening for Roxette. I'm like, okay, I can go back and finish my degree later. Of course, that never happened, but yeah, that's how it goes, which is great in some ways. So, but yeah, it was amazing. What an opportunity to be in such a huge venue and to open for such a great band.
Yeah. I was a huge fan of Marie. Always will be.
Oh, what a singer. So good.
Mhm. And who were some of the peers in the industry that you got to meet at the time that you bonded with, or some of your influences?
Oh, that's interesting. Influences and peers were two different things in some ways. I mean, geez. I mean, the thing is that I was very integrated in the music industry already in some ways through my dad. So I've met so many people earlier in my life than at that time.
Yeah.
And at that time, I remember meeting, record company mates, and I wish I could remember some names who went on to, we met Lee Aaron.
Love her.
Yeah. And yeah, so there were a few people at that time, but honestly, there were so many that I was meeting before that seem more influential. I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that question. Who else? Well, now what's the name of the guy that he started Lululemon? He was in a boy band at Johnny Jet before he started Lululemon.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't want to throw out any names and get them wrong, but yeah, look it up. Look it up.
What was one of your personal favorite West End Girls track? Maybe one that you figured should have been a single?
Oh, geez. Good question. Let's see. I really enjoyed our Blondie cover, Dreamin'.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. She did it right the first time. She didn't need it covered, but it could have been a single again. Totally.
It was good.
Yeah.
I understand that you ended up touring at one point with Sarah McLachlan.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's started that, and what kind of tour did you have together? Were you a backing vocalist?
I was the backup vocalist, and that
Mhm.
was for almost 8 years. That was a much bigger part of my, lifespan than the West End Girls were.
Yeah.
And that was post West End Girls, not by too much time. It was, yeah, that was an amazing experience to just go all over the world, and I met a lot more people during that because of all the Lilith fairs that we did, right? So
Yeah.
ended up, so that was a cool opportunity. Yeah, and it was an interesting transition too, because I remember auditioning for it, and people know my dad in the local music business, and they know my sister also, who's a couple years older than me, and was singing from an early age, established herself, and so I really didn't want to, I was so nervous, and I came from this girl group that we were constantly dealing with the whole Milli Vanilli potential. We were
Mm.
always, because it was so pop, there was always this suspicion. It was this new suspicion that just became a thing, right?
Yeah.
In the industry. And we were doing all our vocals totally live all the time, but we were just up against that, right? And so when I got to do the audition for Sarah McLachlan, who's this completely different, folky, at that time, especially folky artist, who was all very musician based and serious and all this stuff. And so there was so much, I was so nervous because of that climate of everyone assuming that everything was fake. And then I came from this band that was put together. It wasn't our inspiration. So that already sort of, in a lot of people's eyes, just took away legitimacy in terms of musicianship and all of that. So yeah, that was a nervous transition.
I can imagine, but it sounds like something that you got a chance to really learn a lot from and develop your skills.
Totally. It was an amazing place to develop the skills, because doing it so many years in a row and touring so heavily, you just learn a lot.
Mm-hmm. Now that you're a vocal coach, how long have you been doing that now?
So I've been doing that for 20 years now. It's kind of crazy.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So that keeps me really busy, and it feels very full circle, because I've done so many weird and crazy things in the music industry, and then been in so many challenging situations, both technically, but also just just in how to navigate the music industry is half of what I offer sometimes with some students. So it's great. It's very, very full circle.
Yeah, that's actually what a valuable a bit of information that would be for any student, especially because in most vocal lessons, you don't get that kind of experience to draw upon.
Exactly. So it's something I can bring to the table. And I really, really empathize for people feeling sort of lost at sea in the industry, because it's a toughie. There's no manual. There's no certification. People are just not raised by qualified experts and then sent out into the industry. It's pretty dog eat dog, and does not come with a manual.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a full roster of clients at this time, or?
I do. I call it full because it's all I can handle and have balance in the rest of my life.
That's good.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's been really busy, and yeah, it's amazing. It's done really well. I'm passionate about it, so I'm happy to help as many people as I can.
Good. Do you keep in touch? Obviously, you keep in touch with Silvana, so that's really awesome, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Good.
I keep in touch with Silvana, and I have not seen Amy in a million years.
Yeah.
But I was sort of hoping, I was like, maybe the three of us will do this. That'd be so
That would have been
incredible.
cool if we could all do it at the same time. It would be hard with everyone's schedules, but I'm just glad that you guys took the time individually. It means a lot to me. It's going to be a great
Aw.
episode.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you have any regretful fashion choices from the 90s or photo shoots where you were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I wore that?
I mean, yes. I mean, don't we all?
That's true. That is
Yeah.
true.
I mean, the weird boxy, those huge shoulder pads in the suit jackets with the big blocks of red and black and white. I just
Wasn't that like the
can't
album,
imagine.
the back of the album?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like I could not possibly wear that again. But it was a time and place thing, right? It was
Yeah.
not like, it was not the weirdest thing to wear at the time.
That's true. That's very true.
true. Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of food or fashion trend, clothing item, etc., toy maybe would make you nostalgic for the 90s?
Oh. Well, I feel like the croissant is very 90s. Did that not, is it just me or do you remember the Bread Garden
No,
restaurant? Oh,
the
is
bread
this a-
garden.
Is this a
Maybe-
BC thing?
It
I'm not
might, well,
sure.
we might not have had it in Edmonton. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
maybe not. Well, there was this big surge of restaurants called the Bread Garden, and all of a sudden croissants were available everywhere. And maybe they always were, but it just became something that I noticed. What else?
Oh, I love croissants. If I can have a
Croissants are
sandwich with a
great.
croissant, I'll usually pick that.
They're amazing. And like Baskin Robbins ice cream. How about
Mm.
that? Yeah.
Yes. Timeless.
But I mean, can you find a Baskin Robbins now? Like, where are they? In Vancouver, anyway. It's just like
Oh.
they're just disappeared.
There is one in West Edmonton Mall
Okay.
on Bourbon Street. I think it's still there,
Okay.
but I try to avoid going to that mall when I can. When you live here, it's just like, oh, that's like the last place I want to go shopping. But
Yeah.
it's still nice.
Yeah, and troll toys. For some reason, I had a lot of those really random troll toys. Mhm.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I hung on to one of them. I cleared the rest out, but I hung on to one. I kept it in the freezer so that every time I'd open the freezer, I'd get a nice little surprise with that poof of blue hair.
That's
Been
so
thinking
cute.
about that troll lately. I'm like, why don't I have a troll in the freezer? What is wrong with me at this point?
That's so cute. But yeah, they were huge. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Camille, for spending the time with me today. I'm glad you could make this
You're
happen.
welcome. You're welcome. Have a great time putting it all together. And
I
I look forward to hearing what you come up with.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Dope Nostalgia listeners, I love you and I thank you so much for being a part of this show and its success over the last 2 years. We have what's called Patreon for those who want to support the show financially. For as little as $1 a month, you can become a subscriber and get bonus content, early podcast release, all kinds of cool behind the scenes stuff, and more. There's different tiers of membership starting at only $1 a month. And we even have some special merch for you guys who are in it for the long run. So please join our Patreon. It's at www.patreon.com/dope nostalgia.
I'm Tarzan Dan. Yo, what do you know? We got TV's hypest video show, Fresh It in the Flesh. The best videos a week to make you freak. It's the hit list. I'll be eyeballing for you on the hit list
Choose the best, forget the rest. Saturdays at 6.
on YTV.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for spending the time with me today. I had the lovely opportunity to talk with the other ladies as well. So I think it's really cool
you did.
yeah, I think it's
Oh,
really cool.
nice.
The original 3.
Yes,
So-
Savannah and Camille, you mean?
Exactly. I'm so stoked that you guys all. This is going to be a great episode. Just the fact that we could get you all
Awesome. I
on
can't
it.
wait.
So, and I was telling them too, as a tween, I saw you live when you guys opened for Roxette.
Yes.
You know, I had your tape and I felt that your music and the way you guys presented yourselves was such a great influence for young ladies like myself
Thank
at the
you.
time.
Yes.
Now, what was your experience getting into the group originally?
Okay. Well, there was a place called Plaza Nations in downtown Vancouver, and they had just the background music of songs you want. It's kind of like a karaoke bar, but they would record your vocals onto the track. And
Yeah.
so I came in and just for fun, I love singing in the shower. I was a shower singer, so I loved I was really into Debbie Gibson, New Kids on the Block, Paula Abdul. And so I went in and I wanted to sing, and Tiffany as well. She was one of my
Oh,
favorites. Oh
yes.
man, she was one of my favorites.
We
So,
had all the same favorites.
yeah. So I love the song, I Think We're Alone Now.
Mhm.
So I went in and I sang the song. And when I came out, he said, "Oh, these people are looking to form a girls group. I think you'd be a great candidate. I think you should really audition." So I did, and and then I got a 50-page contract 2 weeks later.
Wow. Just like that.
Just like that. I'm not a classical singer. I didn't play any instruments. I just love to sing, period.
Mm.
So I got this 50-page contract. I think I was 15 at the time. And that was one of my dreams, is to sing and do this, be on camera, do videos and all that. And it came true.
Yeah. So of course it's a yes. When you get
Yeah.
when you get a 50-page contract as a 15-year-old, do you have to hire an entertainment lawyer or something to go over it with you? Or how
I
does that
believe
even work?
we did have one, and also my parents had to read through it. So I really didn't know the logistics of it. I just wanted to sign it.
Mhm.
Give me the paper. Let me
Let's get
sign
this
it.
Well, when you're that age, all you want to do is make the music, make it happen, right? So
Yeah. So when I did the audition, and when I got the contract, they called me and said, "Okay, well, can you come down to the studio? I want you to meet one of the girls that we've picked as well." So the first one I met was it Camille or was it Sylvana? Hold on. I think it was Camille, and then Sylvana came afterwards. She was in a group called the Big Bottom Swing.
nice.
You know that? Did you see her too?
I did
Did you
talk
see
to
that
her.
band? Yeah. Did you see the band? Like when she
No,
was
I
in
haven't
Big
seen the
Bottom Swing?
band. No.
Oh, okay.
I gotta look
She
it
was
up.
Yeah, she was in a band called the Big Bottom Swing before she got into the West End Girls. So I met Camille and then Sylvana, and then things went off from there.
What was your experience like recording in the studio for the first time when you did the
Oh
debut
my
album?
gosh. It was so exciting. Okay, so we recorded at the Little Mountain Sound in Vancouver.
Legendary studio.
Yes, and I remember, yeah, it was so legendary. And I remember, I think the first or the second day I was there, one of the girls said, "Oh my gosh, John Bon Jovi's here." What? Yeah, I said, "Are you serious?" So he was there when we were recording our album. So he was in the lounge area when I had my little break, and I did not know what to say. I was like, I was just starstruck. I was like, "Holy cow, John Bon Jovi's here." And yeah, it was a great experience. And Bill Henderson was there, Camille's dad, who was in Chilliwack. You knew that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. He was our vocal arranger. So the experience there was amazing. I will never forget it.
Mhm. You got to take in and learn so much about how to do your craft, which is cool.
Oh, it was awesome. I just love to hear the harmonies come together. And my favorite part was when a song was finished and I would hear it in the studio and in my headphones. I loved it.
Isn't that the best feeling?
Oh yeah, it was the best feeling. Like especially the very first single that we did was Not Like Kissing You.
Mhm.
And it was great, like listening to the final product and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is our first single." Because I was basically, I wasn't really into bubblegum pop music before. At that age, I was really into R&B.
Mm.
Now my taste in music is totally opposite, because R&B nowadays is not the same.
It's not.
No,
No, I miss it.
Jodeci. Yeah, me too. I do too. I still listen to the old stuff. I can barely listen to the new stuff now.
Mhm.
New music, the new R&B, the new rap. Oh gosh.
You're
My
not
son,
alone.
no, thank you. My oldest son is 19, and he would just crank up that rap music, and I would literally crank it back down. Like, can you wait till I leave the room, please? Yeah.
No kidding. I mean, so you guys are going on tours. You're out there doing, like, probably playing at Much Music, stuff like that, right? Who did you get to meet? Of course, John Bon Jovi, but peers in the industry that you got to bond with and who influenced you. Who did you get to meet that really affected you?
Who did I get to meet? Well, Brian Adams. I remember when we opened for Roxette, the first night in Vancouver. He sent us, all of us, flowers, so that was nice.
Oh.
Who else did I meet? I don't know. Well, I know that I met the Backstreet Boys. This was after. We've met. Oh, I'm going blank here. I don't even know. I don't remember now. I have a really bad memory, by the way. Who else did we meet? Just Canadian artists. David Usher. He dated Sylvana.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Now I do.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
how cute.
Yeah, and I also am friends with the Wanye Morris.
Oh, Boys
From-
to Men.
Yeah, Boys to Men. I haven't talked to him for a very long time now, but we were talking for a few years. Who else did I meet? I don't know, to be honest. Like, there's so many I forgot now.
And plus, so much is
Honestly, like-
happening at that time. I'm sure it was
Yeah.
a whirlwind, right?
Well, it was a very long time ago.
Yeah,
It was decades ago.
it's true.
I'm literally feel like a grandma now, to be honest.
Yeah. What was your favorite, like, West End Girls track? Like the one that you wish would have been a single that wasn't?
Million Shades of Love, State of the Heart, and Anything to Make You Mine.
We got 3. I love that.
Mhm.
Every time I think of you, you know it drives me crazy. I can't get you off of my mind. I like the way you make me feel when we're together. Got to have you all the time. Come on, lover, don't be shy. We don't need an alibi. There's no time to hesitate, 'cause boy, it's getting late. Ooh, won't you say to me you'll be my tender lover? It's state of the heart, baby. State of the heart, got you on my mind. State of the heart, baby. State of the heart, got you on my mind. Yeah.
What is it about those songs that you love so much?
They just had a real good feeling to it. It was just Anything to Make You Mine was, oh, actually, sorry. That was the second group. That was
Yeah.
the second, because I'm the original.
Yes.
So Anything to Make You Mine Yeah, that was Janelle's lead. The first album, Million Shades of Love, I really enjoyed performing.
Mhm.
It's very, very bubblegum pop, but I actually enjoyed performing that song a lot.
Good.
I Want You Back. I Want You
Yeah.
Back was my solo. That was
Yes.
really fun to
And it was
perform.
fantastic job, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Not as good as Michael Jackson, but you know, I tried.
You did well. You held it up. You did great.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Now tell me about when things changed. Janelle and Celia Louise joined, and then you came out with a second album, and you were
Yeah.
you remained with them together.
Yes.
The second album coming out, was it a different vibe completely? Just
Totally.
with the new ladies?
It was a totally different vibe. Yeah. It was a little bit more not R&B-ish, but just more upbeat. The thing is, okay, I'll be honest with you. We didn't really have much say
Yeah.
in you know, the songs. I felt like we were a bit like puppets, you know. This is what you sing, this is where you going, you know. We weren't really to be honest, we weren't really allowed to write.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
get
I
it.
mean, I had a lot of ideas, but you know, I wasn't going to take my chance and ruining my chances with, you know, making albums and putting out music and all that. Yeah.
Kind of just seeing where things would progress from there at that point.
Yeah. 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 After that, this second West End Girls, I actually was in D Crew.
Yes, I was going to ask you about D Crew and that experience.
Yeah, D Crew was different. It was different. I wished. Okay, so now I'm getting older in this group, and I felt like I wanted to, you know, contribute to the tracks, to the music. But again, it was the same company,
Mhm.
and I couldn't really do what I wanted to do, what I wanted to sing, how I wanted it to sound, you know.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to, you know, but I wish I had more say, period.
You wanted to express yourself artistically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I couldn't, neither could anybody else. So,
Mhm.
so because of that, I think that's why it didn't really do as well, to be honest with you. Everybody had their own thing. Like everybody was so different in that group.
Are you talking about D Crew?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody was, you know, so it was just it was a little strange to me, like the whole thing. But yeah, it didn't last very long. And then after that, I just did some, you know, of my own on the side after that was done. And I felt so much better because I had more say in my music. But the thing is when I started doing that, I was pregnant with my first. And so, yeah. So I wanted to be the best mom I could be. So I couldn't really concentrate and give my music 100% with starting a family. So, and that's what happened. Here I am now. I've done a couple projects where I actually wrote the choruses and the melody for a couple songs. And they haven't mixed it yet, and then I still have maybe a couple more recording sessions. But I'm not in it to be famous. Obviously I just love to sing and I love music. So I decided to do it, because I miss being in the studio, you know, having the headphones on and just have it like that, the harmonies blend and just listening to just my own music. Yeah. So right now I'm just concentrating on being a mom, and I want to start to get into it more. Like, I want to get into music more. I just have to find the time to do it. That's the only
Mhm.
thing. Yeah.
Fair enough. Especially like the passion is still there and you need that outlet, just a
The
creative
definite
outlet.
right. The definite passion is still there. I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
I do. And I remember I got a hold of our ex-producer slash manager, and I had this dream that the Western Girls got back together again,
Yeah.
because I always loved 80s, 90s music. So I was thinking of writing a song that has that feel to it. And so when I talked to the producer, he said, well, we're willing to do it. Do you think Camille and Sylvana will be willing to do it? And I said, I'm not too sure. I haven't talked to them in a while. So I talked to them for a bit. So everybody's kind of in their own worlds right now. So it's not the time right now, obviously.
You'll know if the time happens, right?
Yeah, hopefully in the
If
future.
it
That'd
li-
be,
If it lines
yeah,
up.
but when we're 60 years old and have no teeth.
I'm just happy, even if you're making your own music right now, and even if you like just do it for fun and it's just throwback and it feels good, because honestly, my podcast, we're going to support you on whatever you're going to do.
Aw, thank you so
So-
much.
So if you start making some music, I'll keep in the loop and I'd love to promote it for you.
And I will send it. I will definitely send it to you. It is like a huge difference between, even though the Western Girls was such a big group in Canada, and the difference is when I'm making my own music, it's just a different feeling,
Yeah.
And I feel proud and I feel good about, this is my song. I wrote this.
Mhm.
Compared to, this is what I have to learn. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's your baby. It's important to, like, it feels so much different and better when it's your own song. I totally
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's a totally different vibe to, it's music that I actually love to sing. I'm not saying that I didn't like to sing our songs. It's just that it wasn't really me 100%,
Mhm. It makes complete
Yeah.
sense. No, I think there's a lot of artists who've been in the same position you've been, where it's like, it's so freeing to do your own material because it's just part of you and it's sharing that with the world, right?
Yeah. And it just feels so much better. Coming from my heart, is actually coming from my heart,
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So-
I would love to send you the finished products once I'm done.
Good. And I'll be happy to promote whatever you'd like to play. We'll play it on the show.
Thank you so much. And I love your page, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Do you like my little New Kids adventures I've been posting there?
I do. I really do. And oh yeah, by the way, we were all wearing bras on all of our videos.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I spoke
Zig,
to a,
ah.
right.
Well, to
Yeah.
wrap things up, I was going to ask you about what food or fashion trend, clothing item, toy, anything would make you nostalgic for the 90s.
Ooh. My hoops and the headband. And Le Chateau all the way.
Le Chateau. Yes.
Yeah.
I swear, like, that was my whole like teenage young adult life, was everything was Le Chateau.
Le Chateau. Yep. Le Chateau and the headband that I always wore and my silver hoop earring. I remember one of my friends' little cousin loved us. And every time I went over there, she had the headband and the silver or the hoop earrings on.
hmm Bigger the better.
Right.
I
Those are
love
really-
that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Amy. It was a pleasure to get
Aw,
to know you and
thank
talk to you.
Thank you so much as well. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
I don't want your lover thinking that you're getting much. Just because I'm sexy, it don't mean you get to touch. I need to feel some affection, love, and you don't have to be chasing me. Love,
Got it going on the way that I like.
are you sexing me?
Go, 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 go.
You're sexing me.
Color me sexy all through the night.
Are you sexing me?
Go, 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 go.
You're sexing me. I don't want your money. It ain't gonna
Social media, yeah, we've got it. Send us an email, dopenostalgiapodcast@gmail.com. Twitter, nostalgia dope. Or on Insta, dope_.